So this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers. But I wanted to respond because there have already been some feathers ruffled based off of the NHL's top players list of centers in the league. This was posted like last week, but I thought it was a very interesting opportunity to just get a gauge as to where NHL fans and fans of particular teams view their players. The NHL's list of the top 20 centers, this will be linked in the description below. And of course, we can go out there and talk about all of the guys that are listed out here. Sam Bennett at number 20, Macklin Celebrini at 19, Tage Thompson, Rupe Hintz. We can go down over to Nico Hischier, Aho, Thomas. Jack Hughes is on here, Nick Suzuki, Scheifele, Point, Matthews, Eichel, Crosby, Barkov, Draisaitl, McKinnon, and McDavid. Yeah, it's all there, and the write-ups are all here too. But I wanted to talk about the Red Wings and the Sens, because both of these teams, they don't seem to like each other very much. Both of these fan bases, they don't seem to like each other very much either, and every time the Sens and the Wings face off, there's always something to talk about. There's always a controversy, there's always a big hit, there's always a fight or something of that nature. And now we've got a fight on social media, because number 16 on the NHL's list of top 20 centers is Timmy Stu out of Ottawa. And number 15 is Dylan Larkin. The question is Larkin really better than Stutzle? Who has the better projection longer term? How can we compare and contrast these guys right now? Let's try to dive into that in this video. So number 16, it's Tim Stutzle, Ottawa Senators. This is what the NHL.com write-up says. The number 3 pick in the 2020 draft made his Stanley Cup playoff debut with 5 points in a 6-game series loss to the Maple Leafs in the Eastern Conference first round, Ottawa's first postseason appearance since 2017. Tim Stutzle's 55 assists led the Senators in the regular season, which included an 11-game assist streak from January 26 to March 3rd that broke the team record of 10 shared by Mark Stone and Sergei Gonchar. He was named one of the first 6 players to Team Germany's preliminary roster for the Olympic Winter Games in Milano Cortina 2026. That is the write-up. It just talks about numbers and Olympic invites. Dylan Larkin's write-up is similar. Number 15, Larkin of the Red Wings. The Red Wings captain is the 9th player in team history with 4 consecutive 30-goal seasons, and the first to do it since Henrik Zetterberg from 2005 to 2009. Last season, Larkin played all 82 games for the second time, finishing off with 40 assists and 70 points, and had a goal and an assist in 4 games at the Four Nations face-off to help the U.S. reach the championship game, a 3-2 overtime loss to Canada. Now, by the way, I gotta give credit where credit is due. Dylan Larkin absolutely put his name on the map at the Four Nations tournament. Sure, he had 2 points in 4 games. Half a point a game isn't the best in the world, but still, he went out there and shined. He scored some really big points at some opportune times, and a lot of folks were very excited to see Larkin bring that energy back over to Detroit. You can get into the entire controversy that brought itself up in the second half of the season if, Dylan Larkin exhibited this sort of super competitive environment for Team USA at the Four Nations. Now he's back in Detroit where they suck and they were going on this big losing streak. Now Larkin's complaining to the media about how the Red Wings didn't add anybody. This guy wants out, and that was a definite talking point that we had to converse about a few times over the course of the second half of the year. But Dylan Larkin, post-Four Nations break, was indeed on a Red Wings team that just could not get it together, multiple losing streaks, and just a very disappointing finish to the season. But he finished off with 70 points in 82 games played. Now, the thing is, Timmy Stu had himself a bunch of points as well. In fact, he had more points than Dylan Larkin. 79 in 82 games played, 24 goals, 55 assists. Stutzle is a little bit removed from a 90-point campaign in 22-23, which saw him put up 39 goals and 51 points. Unfortunately for Timmy Stu, he hasn't been able to replicate that level of point production, But after a pretty disappointing 23-24 for everybody in Ottawa, Timmy was able to get himself back into the swing of things and be a major contributing factor to the Sens making the playoffs. 5 points, 6 games in that first round series. The thing is, when you go off of individual performance, it's really easy to say, hey, wait a minute, Timmy Stu had more points, he's younger, like, why is he ranked underneath Larkin? And if I had to guess, like, Timmy Stu had 79 points, Larkin had 70, 30 goals, 40 assists, Timmy Stu had 24 goals, 55 assists. What these numbers say to me more so is that the Ottawa Senators were just straight up a better team than the Detroit Red Wings. And that's not controversial. Ottawa made the playoffs, Detroit did not. But when you think about the magnitudes here, sure, Dylan Larkin wasn't the top point guy on Detroit this previous year. That was Lucas Raymond. Sure, Tim Stutzle was the highest point producer on Ottawa. He was the number one guy with 79 points in 82 games played. But I do think that the Sens being a much stronger team allowed Timmy Stu to get a few more assists here and there than Larkin would have been able to get. Because firstly, Larkin wasn't playing with DeBrincat, and also Larkin was on a team that just could not string together results. So when you think about the magnitude of importance of either of these players to their teams, I don't think it's too hot of a stretch to say that Dylan Larkin is more important to the Red Wings than Timmy Stu is to the Ottawa Senators. Like, if the Sens go a game or two without Tim Stutzle, I'm more confident in them to be able to come out on top versus a Red Wings team that doesn't have Larkin. Like, if the Red Wings miss out on Larkin, they're screwed. And I do think that will play a part in determining the ranking as to how good some of these players are. And yes, I do think that it's kind of unfair. It's like, oh, you're punishing Tim Stutzle on this list, evaluating him because his team's better than Dylan Larkin and the Detroit Red Wings. I get that it's kind of a weird thing to bring up here, but I also do think that from a goals perspective as well, Dylan Larkin was forced to go out there and consistently put up numbers in the goal department. Meanwhile, Timmy Stu, he hasn't had a 39-goal season since 22-23. He hasn't been close to replicating that in the year since. He went from 39 goals to 18 to 24. And that's not me discrediting assists and saying that assists are not important in general. It's just, I think it's easier to get those assists and to get points in general when you're playing on a better team. So for Timmy Stu, I do think that if you had swapped the teams, like if Tim Stutzle was on Detroit and he had the exact same numbers, I think at that point maybe he does become a little bit higher up on the list. Dylan Larkin might suffer a little if he's playing on a much better team. But then again, you could go out there and say, well, what about some of these other guys? I mean, some of these teams are kind of okay, etc., etc. Like, you're not looking at all the other guys on the worst teams being pushed up on this list in the same way. Macklin Celebrini is 19th overall, you could say. But at the same time, it's like, well, Macklin Celebrini was literally a rookie this previous campaign, and now he's listed on a list of the top 20 centers in the league. So I do think that this thought process does make sense. If it were up to me, if I had to choose one or the other, I personally would choose Stutzle if I'm building my team long term, just because Stutzle's a lot younger than Larkin. Larkin is 2014 drafted, he's 29 years old, Timmy Stu is 23, and he was drafted in 2020. So I do think the 6 years does make a difference here. Also, you can say experience and age will go into Larkin's favor when evaluating top centers, which could also be explained why Larkin is ultimately given the nod over Timmy Stu on the NHL's list. But with all that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this entire argument over here? Tim Stutzle versus Dylan Larkin. Who do you think is the better player, and who do you think should have been ranked higher on the NHL's list of top 20 centers? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.